Damn, I'm looking good.
I've been feeling pretty nostalgic lately, thinking back on simpler times like getting the newest issue of PC Gamer in the mail and the excitement of what would be on that demo disc, or checking out the big game box art in my local Best Buy and the golden era of what the kids these days are calling boomer shooters.
You are tied for the lead.
Based on the fact that 40% of my viewers are between the ages of 25 and 34, I bet some of you can sympathize. I've been going back, trying to revisit a lot of my old favorites, but if I'm being honest, they just have not been hitting the way they used to. That is, until I stumbled on a little group of VR enthusiast developers called Team Beef. You may have heard about them as a few of the people behind the upcoming Postal 2 VR port. But what you may not know is that for years, they've made it their mission to port over an extensive list of all-time classic shooters to standalone VR, and I've been having the time of my life checking out everything they've been working on. So today, I want to share with you some of my favorites, what Team Beef has coming in the pipeline, and at the end of the video, I'll get into how you can try these all for yourself. Also, for PC players, most of these have versions that will utilize the full power of your system, but I wanted to share the standalone versions because I think it's a perfect use case for standalone devices and a great option for people that might not have the best PC. Now, I've got a lot of games to cover today, so let's kick things off by going all the way back to the Build Engine Holy Trinity: Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and Blood. I was as surprised as you might be right now to find out that all three of these were ported to VR, and it's a surreal experience to play them all with motion controls. I was always a Duke Nukem man myself back in the day, but I actually fell in love with Blood while playing through it in VR because I was having so much fun with all of its creative weapons and interesting world. The 3D environments combined with 2D sprites and weapons makes these games really unique in VR, and personally, I think the art still holds up. The shift in perspective because of VR, aside from being a novelty, actually kind of revives some of the feel I remember having my first time playing these games. A feel that has mostly faded with modern sensibilities. Especially in Blood, the game's a little scary and kind of unsettling again, while Duke and Shadow Warrior feel more like roller coasters. Something I'm probably going to end up mentioning a few times throughout this video is how fast you used to move in a lot of these old games. It feels like you were just flying through these maps, and the recorded footage does not do a good job conveying just how fast it feels like you're moving. The best part about these games specifically is that they all conveniently work out of a single launcher called Raze XR, alongside a handful of other Build Engine games. Let me know which one was your favorite. Next up, we have the Quake series. All four mainline games are playable in standalone VR, with Quake 4 being available in early access if you subscribe to the Team Beef Patreon. For me, Quake 3 was always my favorite, and by far the most interesting of the four to talk about in VR, because not only is the entire single player available, but it also has a fully functional online multiplayer component. Someone in the comments let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I don't think there's a single other multiplayer arena shooter in VR, and on top of that, Quake 3 is the gold standard of the genre. Of all of the games in today's video, this is the most challenging one to really show off in recorded footage. It just does not do this experience justice. Like the Build Engine games, the speed that you move around feels blistering, and the spectator is like looking at a miniature diorama. I could honestly spectate games for hours just because it's so cool to see it in that perspective. Despite the translation into VR, Quake 3 still manages to retain its adrenaline-fueled, fast-paced action feel, and if anything, I think it feels more intense. Jumping from the top of the map and landing a railgun shot on the way down has not felt this satisfying in a long time.
You have taken the lead. Impressive.
This should come as no surprise to anyone that watches my channel, but I obviously have to mention Half-Life. The original masterpiece itself, crammed in its entirety onto the Quest hardware. I'm always at a loss for words when it comes to this series. If you've never played the original classic, just stop watching this video and go play it. If you have played it, VR is an incredible way to relive it. Half-Life 2 is one of the best VR experiences you can have on PC VR, and the same holds true for the original on standalone.
Ooh, something died down here.
For any Star Wars fans, there's Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Personally, I think this is currently the best proper Star Wars game you'll find in VR. Blasters are cool and all, but when you start swinging a lightsaber, deflecting shots and using force powers with motion controls, it's hard to imagine it any other way. It just feels right. With the dismemberment turned on, the feedback of being able to see exactly where your cuts land or seeing scars of lightsaber battles on the walls is just a Star Wars fan's dream come true. And just in case you can't get enough of the awesome combat, you can also launch Jedi Knight Jedi Academy out of the same launcher. If you're looking for more of a split between old and new, Return to Castle Wolfenstein is a great option. It has a very similar throwback feel to Quake 3 in its movement, but packaged in a more moody, haunted house atmosphere. This is an exceptional game to play through in VR, and dare I say, it's even become one of my favorite games to play on the Quest. The later part of the game can get pretty tough, so if you're looking for something with a little more challenge, I think you might really enjoy revisiting this one. Last, but certainly not least, we have the most impressive game on this list, Doom 3. For anyone around when Doom 3 launched, you likely remember it bringing all but the best PCs to their knees. My computer at the time probably would have exploded if I even attempted it, so I had to get a play-by-play on the school bus each morning from a friend, making it all the more impressive to me that this is now running on the standalone Quest system. Doom 3 pushes even the Quest 3 to its limits, but you can really crank up the settings if you aren't trying to record. This game, maybe more than any other game we've talked about today, just makes sense for VR. I was really surprised by how well the presentation stands up after all of these years. Holding a flashlight in one hand as you creep around blood-soaked laboratories, and some of the more demonic sequences can be legitimately frightening. The sound design especially really stands out, hearing things clank around in events all around you, and you even have the option of dynamic lighting if you really want to push the Quest even further. I remember Doom 3 being pretty divisive when it first came out, but reliving it through VR reminded me just how much I've always loved it. So that wraps up the games I wanted to highlight specifically today, and I didn't even touch on everything currently available. There's a handful of other games like the original Doom or even Tomb Raider that Team Beef has fully ported to standalone VR. I think they're all worth checking out, and what they have in the pipeline is even more exciting. If you want to try anything I talked about in the video today, you're going to need to set up SideQuest in order to sideload the games. All the games I'm talking about are on standalone Quest VR, but you will need a copy of the original game to make them work. For most of these games, it's possible you already own a copy, but if you don't, I think the average price for these is only a few bucks on Steam or GOG. Each game or launcher has a page with very clear instructions to set them up, and they are all incredibly straightforward. I'll include links to each of the individual SideQuest pages for the games in the description. I'll also include a link to a video to help you get set up on SideQuest if you've never done it before. But now, as always, I want to hear from you. If you could have any game, within reason obviously, ported to standalone VR, what would it be, and have you tried anything I talked about today? Let me know what you thought. Remember to hit that like button if you enjoyed the content, and maybe consider subscribing if you aren't already. All your feedback helps make this channel better. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.